Hello, hello. Welcome to the Let's Be Real podcast. I'm Nayan, your host for today's episode, and I'm joined here by, as usual, James. Lad, how you doing?
Doing all right. It's Monday, so the best I can.
Yeah, I hate it. Today was a struggle for me. Don't know about you.
I feel like every Monday is a struggle for you, man. But it's just the Monday blues. But yeah, we're doing all right. Had a pretty productive weekend, so it felt good.
What did you do on the weekend?
Just did a bunch of stuff. Went to the gym, watched the Warriors game. It was chill, but yeah, productive. So it was a very, very good weekend for me.
That's good.
I love those kind of weekends.
That's good. Yeah, we always need that every now and then.
What about you?
Chill one.
Did you get up to much?
Nah, not really. Watch the Warriors because you came over.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to watch them if I don't come over?
No.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. I am the Warriors fan after all.
Exactly. No, I ordered this pizza and then James was like, I'm bored. Can I come over? I'm like, sure, but I need to go pick up my pizza first. And then the lad came over. Boys got a win.
Yep.
I lost a bet because the Warriors suck, even though they won.
Yeah, just,
yeah. But no, it was pretty cruisy.
Nice.
Like you.
Nice.
Anyway, here on Let's Be Real, we're here to bring you all the latest and greatest news from the entertainment industry, from blockbuster hits to indie flicks. We got it all covered. And if you're a real movie buff, be sure to check out MovieGainz.com for your more exciting content like box office analysis, Oscar predictions, and 4K content. So today on this show, we'll be covering, obviously, the weekend box office, the events of Wonder Woman 3 and the roller coaster that we've been on for the past 2 weeks, Adam Devine's comments towards the MCU, Blue Beetle reactions, predicting the Rotten Tomatoes score for the major films for the rest of 2023, Talk to Me sequel and an Uncharted sequel, and James and I will be ranking our top 3 favourite films from the New Zealand International Film Festival. So let's jump right into it and let's get to the analysis of this weekend's box office results. So in first, for the 4th week running, we have Barbie with 33.7 million. And in number 2, as always, is Oppenheimer with 18.8 million. Then in third, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem with 15.75 million. The Meg 2, The Trench with 12.7 million. And Dracula, The Last Voyage of the Dementor with 6.5 million.
Demeter.
Oh, did I say Dementor?
He hates this movie that much that he's just not even going to pronounce it correctly.
Yeah. So that got 6.5 million. So, James, what are your big takeaways from these top 5 results?
It's just same old, I guess. You know, Barbenheimer just continues to plow through the movie industry, and we're going to keep hearing about the Barbenheimer phenomenon all the way through to Oscar season, I believe. So, yeah, it's pretty much just like that. Just, Oppenheimer, how it holds so well, it's not a surprise because everyone's loving it, and it has the benefit of being in premium large format cinemas. But it's fallen by over 40% once, and that was after its first weekend. Otherwise, it's just always fallen around the 35-36% mark. So it's sitting around 264 total now. I see that movie going to around 330. I think it's competition with the Joker, which is also an R-rated movie, is going to be quite interesting to see which one finishes on top. I think Joker was around 277 by this point.
Mm-hmm.
So they are quite close. I think Oppenheimer's holding on a little bit better. If Oppenheimer can beat Joker, I think that's just incredible. Remember, Joker had all the awards buzz. It had it's based on a very popular DC character. It's not 3 hours, and there are action scenes of sorts.
And it had $1 billion as well.
Yeah, it had $1 billion. It doesn't have a competition worldwide. Joker will take the lead there. Oppenheimer will get around 900 million in total worldwide, which is still very insane. And that would be the second highest R-rated film of all time. Mm-hmm. I think Deadpool 2 is second at 785. And with Oppenheimer at 650 now, it's going to beat it. It's going to be second of all time on the R-rated side of things. Barbie 1.18 billion now. Its path to Mario is, I'm still not going to say it's definitive, but it's very likely that it will beat it. It really just depends on if it slows down with a Blue Beetle and Gran Turismo and all these consecutive releases start to take a bit of a hit on it. Then we could see it go down. But again, I don't see that changing. You're looking around a total of 1.4 to 1.45 billion. Mutant Ninja Turtles, fell around where I thought it would be. Well received, but yeah, it's sitting okay. I don't know on the worldwide side of things. It's not doing too great. It's not released in all markets yet. It only has 21 million there, so hopefully it can get enough to really that break even point and make some good money for the studio.
Yeah,
Meg 2 had a better drop than I figured. I thought it was going to fall around 60 to 65, 57.7%, which is it's a pretty respectable hold for a movie like this. It feels very Meg 2 feels like a Fast and Furious type movie.
it does.
Anyone that wants to see Meg 2 will see it opening weekend. No one's going to go to it on the second weekend and be like, "Oh, this would be like fun."
Yeah.
But perhaps I could be wrong here. But yeah, had a decent drop for the kind of movie that it is. Yeah, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Yeah, this one is the tough one. It bombed completely. I think the budget's around 45 million. I first read 100 million, and that's when I was telling you. And then I looked at it recently when these numbers started to come out, and it's like 45 million. And it's still not going to hit nowhere near its break-even point.
Do you know who the studio is?
Studio Canal for us. Universal Pictures for the wider distribution in the US. Right. So yeah, it's pretty. It's not a good one for them. Talk to Me though. That's one that needs to be discussed. 5.1 million on its third weekend, dropped 19%. It's at 31 million now, and for a A24 movie, I think it's like fourth. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once, Hereditary, Uncut Gems, maybe another one is the highest grossing for A24, with Everything Everywhere All at Once being the first at like 70 million. So for Talk to Me to get this, and we're going to talk about more Talk to Me stuff soon. It's a very, very good result. Otherwise, yeah, Elemental seems to have finally taken the hit, at least on the domestic side of things. It didn't earn $1 million this weekend, but it hit the 150 mark. So from a 30 million opening to a 150, it's just insane legs. Yeah. I think that's 6 times its opening weekend.
Broken even now, right?
Yeah, it's at 443. I heard that the Pixar president said that the opening was very concerning to them, and then they saw that it legged it out to a point where it's making profit, and it's kind of made them relieve. And I think they're happy about it due to the wider Disney's doing very poorly. So to see a well-received Pixar movie legging it out and people keep showing up, I think it's the message that the audiences respect the quality of the film has been heard. So yeah, what are you thinking about the box office this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much thought Barbie and Oppenheimer would take the first 2 spots. I didn't realize Ninja Turtles would drop that. I thought Ninja Turtles would drop a lot more.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I think it was like, 30 to 40-ish%?
43, 44? Yeah.
43, which is pretty good for like a animated film.
Yeah.
Meg 2, I was expecting it to drop a lot. I was expecting it to be out of the top 5 in general.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Because after that poor opening and then, just negative reviews from that and whatnot.
Yeah, and even negative word of mouth.
Yeah. Sorry, before this podcast, me and James had like we were discussing our little quotes that we discuss all the time, and he pointed out whatnot to me, and I just started laughing as soon as I said it.
Yeah. If you guys are listening, get out some drinks right now. Take a shot whenever Nan says whatnot, and just let us know if you make it to the end of this podcast or whether you pass out beforehand.
Yeah, or let's not just put it on me. If you want to double down, you can attack James as well, and every time he says, boom, shot right there.
Yeah. But that one's for very advanced drinkers. Do not do that unless you're very experienced at the game.
Exactly. But yeah, no, these these box office results is pretty much stock standard. The thing will start to get interesting now with like Blue Beetle coming on Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
We really get to see how Barbenheimer does with proper competition. So yeah. I think the next couple of weeks is going to be interesting.
What are you thinking for next weekend with Blue Beetle releasing?
As in how much I think it'll make?
Yeah, just give a general idea on opening weekend.
I would say between 30 to 40.
30 to 40.
Yeah.
Man, that's a big prediction.
It is.
Yeah. I would say I think it's going to be around 24 to 27. I think the pre-sale tracking is quite low for it, and the good reactions that we saw haven't really boasted anything greater than or signaled that it's going to continue to increase or what. I was about to say what, not myself.
You're allowed to. It's fine.
Yeah, so it could be interesting. But I sent a tweet out today because I still think 24 could be on the high end of the predictions. And I'm like, what if Barbie beats Blue Beetle in its 5th weekend and Blue Beetle comes second on its opening weekend?
I think that's still a win-win for Warner Brothers because, they're taking out the top 2 spots.
That's true, but Blue Beetle opening below Barbie's 5th weekend will say a lot. It would be very interesting. I don't think it'll happen, but
to be fair,
there's a possibility.
Blue Beetle's a very low-end sort of comic book, tier-wise comic book character. He's like C to B-ish tier.
I mean, still not a justification for that. When you have a DC brand on it and you're marketed as first DCU character and it's a superhero movie in this day and age, you're expected to open at above 30 million no matter what.
Yeah. Well, I guess DCU really did a number on the DC brand.
Yes. We'll get to that soon as well.
We're getting to that next. So the roller coaster of Wonder Woman 3. Last week, Gal Gadot came out and said that her, James Gunn, and Peter Safran is in works to produce Wonder Woman 3. Everyone was mixed on those feelings, and now a new report comes out saying that it's not quite true. It's pretty much saying that this conversation never really happened. Gal Gadot came out and saying that she was invited to a meeting with both Gunn and Safran, and they told me that they're both in good hands. We see a future for you here, and we'll continue going. Currently, there's no plans for Wonder Woman in this new DCU, apart from Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
It is a Max TV series, so she could pop up there as like a cameo or something. But this just really he said, she said at the moment, really.
Yeah.
So who knows if this is legit or if it's just, Gunn and Safran being like, oh shit, we just said that comment because, I don't know,
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on this events of Wonder Woman 3?
I would tend to believe the news we heard a couple of days ago that Wonder Woman 3 is not happening and Gal Gadot will not be returning as Wonder Woman or being Wonder Woman in the DCU, at least the lead Wonder Woman. Because it just doesn't make sense for Wonder Woman 3 to be in the DCU and with this whole reboot coming through, with Henry Cavill being exited as Superman, where Peter Safran and James Gunn went to him respectfully and was like, hey, we respect you, but we are going in a different creative direction and you won't be involved in that. Same with what they did with The Rock. I think it just would have been consistent, and they probably would have said the same thing to Gal Gadot. I just think it's probably a misunderstanding, albeit it's a very big misunderstanding. But I just don't know what either side really gains from this. The report came from Variety, so it's not like a random source or leak. It's a very well known publisher. So, I've heard other little things about Warner Brothers execs have been saying no, there's no plans for Wonder Woman 3. So I would tend to believe that there isn't going to be a Wonder Woman 3, but I just don't think Gal Gadot should have said anything of that nature without it being directly confirmed.
Yeah.
Because the way she said in the interview, it was just like, just casual and just really out there. Yeah, we're developing Wonder Woman 3 together. It's like, okay, well, I guess it's happening. And, now we find out that it's not. But like you said, it's a he said, she said at this point. So I'm not sure, but I hope that Wonder Woman doesn't go through. And it's not because I'm saying that Gal Gadot's performance is bad, but it's just, it's a reboot. You should start fresh. And after Wonder Woman 84, I kind of don't want to see Gal Gadot in the role again.
But you did in The Flash.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That forgettable.
And Shazam. I've seen him twice this year, actually.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That forgettable.
Yeah. DCU needs to start fresh. I hope the report we got this week is correct. But it's going to be, I'll be very interested to know what happened here. If did James Gunn and Peter Safran promise her, oh, we'll do Wonder Woman 3 together, and then come just, not do it and lie to her? I don't see what they gain from that, and they've been respectful to past actors. And I don't know why Gal Gadot would say it's in development if Peter Safran and James Gunn have said, no, we're not going to move forward with Wonder Woman in the new DCU. So, I'm very interested to know what happened here and who's lying.
Yeah, who knows? Unless they said something like, oh, maybe not this chapter or the next, but maybe the next one or the one after that. We could look at doing Wonder Woman 3, and then obviously Gal took the ball and ran with it. I don't think Gunn and Safran have said that it's not true. I'm pretty sure it's sources close to both of them that have said that it's not true. So we haven't actually heard an official statement from the head honchos off DC at the moment. So for all we know, this could be true, and come this week, they might make their comment, and boom, this Wonder Woman roller coaster goes on for a third week.
And we'll cover it. We're just going to cover it every single week from now on.
It is. Yeah.
Watching very closely.
Yeah. It's going to be the new Fantastic Four casting.
Man, we keep covering that one. I just, they need to announce it officially already.
Yeah, they do, but I'm pretty, everything I said last week about Wonder Woman 3 still stands. They should, pretty much, you covered it as well. They should just start fresh. There's a whole reason why they've brought in new characters, dropped a lot of characters, and recast the characters as well. It's because they want to start fresh with their own franchise, and they're taking a bold approach in regards to the first chapter by having not well known properties in there apart from Batman and Superman. We have Swamp Thing that's somewhat popular, but people like Creature Commandos and I forgot what it was called. That's how forgettable it is. Paradise Lost. No one's ever heard of that. They'll be like, what the fuck is this? So they're clearly taking that. It seems like they're trying to build on the wider universe, and then they'll start narrowing it down. That's what I think that they might do. Whereas Marvel just went narrow and then.
It's a very interesting direction to take the DCU, and I don't want them to start with these little characters, and then just go to your Justice League. You need to have these little characters be around for a while. If they're starting out the slate that they've announced, Justice League shouldn't be in it for at least 2 chapters, at least probably 3 chapters. Keep all the big players out, because you're going to have the problem that Marvel's having now, where they got all the big players and now they're introducing, just a fuck ton of little players. I don't know why I'm calling them players at this point, but just not well-known characters, and you're swamped with way too many characters, and the importance of which one. And is Harry Styles going to show up again, or is Roy Kent, that God guy, playing
Brett Goldstein?
Just all this stuff, and so I hope they don't run to that trap. They keep it well contained, and they have a story that flows amongst all the movies and builds it up to something where it can all connect later on down the line.
Yeah. Well, moving on from DC and on to Marvel.
It's a trend that we always have on the show.
It is,
there's always something.
One or the other. Get 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and us discussing Marvel or DC on the podcast.
Oh, so true.
But anyway, Adam Devine, for those of you that don't know him, he's a comedy actor. He's been in stuff like he's been on Modern Family. I think it's Mike and Dave's Wedding Dates or something like that.
Benny Wedding Dates,
Yeah. stuff like that, like those sort of teeny comedies. He's come out and saying Marvel has ruined comedy films because the smaller comedies can't compete with Marvel's big budgets. He's come out and saying, why would the average moviegoer spend their money on a $40 million mid-range sort of comedy budget when they can go and see a $200 million Marvel property for pretty much the same ticket price. And obviously he got a lot of criticism for those comments and whatnot, and he
we'll never speak about this ever again because we just trip up whenever we say our phrases that we often say.
We do. Anyway, when he got criticized, he put out a different statement saying that that his statement was taken out of context. He was more saying it and more directing it towards the studios, who's like the comedy studios who's trying to compete with Marvel. They're saying they've pretty much stopped making big or mid-budget comedies because what's the point if they're just going to get blown away by a Marvel property? So what are your thoughts on his comments, not just in regards to Marvel taking away comedy, but just in terms of, is he right about, people not showing up to comedy films?
This is a tough one to discuss because there is a lot of layers to what he's saying, and there's not one true answer to it. If you want to explore this question and really dive deep into try and get the answer, you have to go far beyond. Oh, it's just comedy. There's just so many layers to it. With Adam Devine though, I found out a story about him today that I'll share. In 1995, when he was 11, he was walking his bicycle across the road, and a cement truck ran over him, struck him. Yeah, 42-ton truck rolled over him, and he slid 150 meters. Yeah, he was knocked unconscious, fell into a coma, woke up 2 weeks later, had every bone in both of his legs broken, collapsed lung, and developed multiple infections. And over the years, he's had 26 surgeries, spent much of his time in a wheelchair. And he was at risk of having his legs amputated or an organ failure. But yeah, apparently why he didn't die is because the bicycle took a lot of the force from the collision. But yeah, no, he struggled with that for like a lot of his life. And when he returned to school, he experienced bullying because of it. But he told jokes as a way to deflect attention away from his injuries. And he just said that those experiences helped him see that, comedy was a way to bring people together. So I thought that was a nice little segue into this conversation as well. Because he obviously finds comedy as a source of comfort, and he's probably uncomfortable with the fact that he can't do that as much now based on what these comments are saying. So yeah, like I don't like the idea of him blaming Marvel for the lack of comedies because he's just using that as a platform to I guess victimize himself in that way, because he's directly affected by the lack of comedy movies. In my humble opinion, I don't think he's a good comedy actor. I don't think he's a good actor in general. I actually find him very irritating in anything that I see. So thank you, Marvel. But no, on a serious note, I don't think he's right, but I think he has a point. And I think his point should open up a conversation just how far really what Marvel's done to the entire film industry. Because it's not just about producing $200 million movies and everyone just goes to see that and then they don't see anything else for the rest of the year. That's so clearly not true. It's the fact that all the other studios try to mimic it. We saw DCU try to do something. We saw Universal with their monster cinematic universe that barely started. And now we're going to see, Mattel doing their cinematic universe. And then, you can go further and say like Disney live actions. Now everyone's recreating their properties. Animated becomes live action becomes animated. It's just a circle of IP driven media just being pushed in different interpretations all around it. And that is what is destroying comedies. because there's no IP driven comedies, like pure comedies. I'm talking about. Marvel's aren't, they're not pure comedy at all. So everything's been IP driven because that makes money. People are seeing it because they have nothing else to see. And then studios are thinking like, oh yeah, they want this because they're spending money. It's like, no, they have nothing else to see because that's all that's there is IP stuff. So yeah, that's just, it's a very deep conversation to get into, but Marvel kickstarted that revolution of IP driven media, just, steamrolling the entire industry. And I think we really have seen a real divide in, the big budget and low budget films. The mid budget movies, they often swing either way. It's quite rare now we get that kind of mid level budget. I don't see much, 80 millions and 70 millions. It's either, under 50 or above 150. We get some that come through, obviously Barbie and Oppenheimer and Gran Turismo and stuff like that. But yeah, even like, I guess horror films have actually stayed because IP, again, the Conjuring universe is half the horror industry at this point.
Got The Nun 2 coming out.
Yeah, or it's Halloween and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of comedy IP, there is none, at least that I can't think of right now or that I've seen.
Hangover would be probably the closest, or 21 Jump Street.
You got stuff like that, but audiences don't jump onto comedy sequels. They don't care about, the side project of, Doug and The Hangover. Or they don't want to see spin-offs or reboots, or they just want comedy movies. But I do think there is a market for comedy movies because we saw No Hard Feelings that did pretty all right. Joyride didn't do well. There's another comedy out recently, I believe.
The only one I could think of was Joyride.
Joyride, yeah. I mean, maybe I'm mistaken, but yeah, they are much rarer now, and I do think it's something that may come back. But with comedy, also rom-coms, they're not around anymore.
That's true.
You're on the chat today, like romance movies in general have just been at an all-time low. So it's just this new direction. And like I said, I think everything's just IP driven. I know I've rambled on for so long. I apologize. But
it's all good.
Like I said, it's a very, very deep conversation.
It is. I think he has a point as well. And I also think that there is a market out there for comedies, as you said, I mean, Joyride was received very well by critics and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the general audience, they just don't go and want to see it. But No Hard Feelings, I guess that because it had Jennifer Lawrence attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big name.
Yeah.
So everyone went and saw that. So I think, and I haven't seen it, but you have, and you said it was a pretty good film.
It's a fun movie, man.
Yeah.
If a comedy is funny, then it's done its job. You're going to have a good time with a comedy if it's funny.
Yeah,
you don't need the writing to be. You don't have to have like deep, intricate characters or anything.
No,
just a good time.
Yeah. So I think there is a market for comedy films. I mean, I know that Vacation Friends, John Cena's comedy little thing.
We saw the first one, eh?
Yeah. The second one's coming out, or there's been a trailer or teaser for that. So obviously that film did something right for it to garner a sequel,
Yeah.
And same with like Bad Mums and Daddy's Home, like they're not that good off a movie per se, but they're still doing something to get those sequels. It might be rare nowadays, but there's obviously a clear market for that. And if you have a very good comedy, then you can strike gold, and a lot of people will come and flock to those screens and watch that product. And then that could be like the revival. But if studios are just giving up without giving a fight or putting interest into these projects, then it's going to become like the rom-coms where they just basically become extinct, which is stupid.
But I mean, like, you see my point just before, because you're talking about, comedies that are around. They're like, again, they're all sequels.
Yeah.
Like the original comedies are just so rare now. You just don't get them.
Yeah, I thought Joyride was going to be like that, like the Game Breaker, but obviously people didn't take to it. It
released at a terrible time.
Yeah,
but I think because Adam Devine, he took back his comments from the audience because he got a lot of backlash for it, and he put blame more on the studio. I think he's right to put some blame on the audience as well. Perhaps not this summer movie season because a lot of the IP stuff has flopped, and we've seen some really big breakout hits from non-IP stuff. Like Barbie's kind of IP driven, and same with Mario, of course. But yeah, so there is some blame to the audience for showing up to bland, mediocre, IP-driven stuff because that's telling the studios this is what the consumers want.
Mm-hmm.
There's blame on both sides, and we can't hide that fact. So, yeah, I do think there's blame on both sides, but it's a very tricky conversation. And I think Barbenheimer, if it does well at the Oscars, it has a big presence there, and Barbie's going to finish top of the box office chart. Oppenheimer could finish third in the year. I think that's going to raise a lot of eyebrows among studios and be like, okay, maybe they do want some originality or interesting stuff, or maybe we should hire directors with creative vision and let them do what they need to do and step out of the way. So let's hope that changes things. Yeah.
All right. Speaking of IP-driven content, the next one we're getting is from, you guessed it, DC.
Back to
DC. And that's Blue Beetle. We all pretty much wrote off Blue Beetle before we even saw anything for it. But we've gotten reactions recently for it. And they've been somewhat overwhelmingly positive. People have been saying that the action sequences are amazing. It's focused on family and believing in yourself. It's the best DC movie of the modern era. It's quite up there with the first Wonder Woman. And they're saying it's very culturally significant towards the Latino community. So do these recent sort of comments make you more interested in Blue Beetle by a little bit more? I'm not going to say excited, but just interested?
No.
Blocked.
No, not at all. Do you know why?
Why, James?
The Flash.
Oh, yeah.
That movie was like forcefully pushed onto every corner of the internet that I could see about how amazing it was. One of the best comic book films ever done. The best DC movie since The Dark Knight. And I heard all of this. And then Tom Cruise loved it. I still need to know what he was on when he watched that movie. James Gunn, I know why he would say it's good. Stephen King loved it. And then you get all these fans saying the same thing. And you come out of it and you're like, damn, that was deeply average. There's some good moments in it for sure. But yeah, it's very average. And I don't need to say anything about the CGI. The internet has covered that off pretty clearly. But yeah, the box office was telling for it. So this doesn't help me in any way, shape, or form. If reviews come out and it's 95%, then yeah, cool. I get excited then. Because even the reviews for The Flash, we heard so much about how good it was. The reactions were great. Everyone out of CinemaCon was loving it. And then the critic reviews come out and it's like 70-something%. It's like, oh, not as good as I had seen, but it's all right.
Yeah. And then you watch the actual product and you're like, oh, this is punching a bit.
Yeah, I thought it was around that 6 to 7 out of 10 mark. I think it's a competent movie, but that's at best. So yeah, no, this doesn't elevate my excitement anymore. But I'm really not. I wouldn't say that I'm not interested in Blue Beetle at all. I'm quite excited to see kind of this movie, just because it is, as we discussed before, it's an unknown comic book character, and it seems kind of lighthearted and family focused. It's just a kind of different kind of superhero movie. And it's one that's kind of gets my interest. You know what you're going to get with The Flash now. Shazam was exactly the same as the first one. So, yeah, Blue Beetle might be like the most interesting one. And if it is good, then, that's a welcome thing. At the end of the day, I want all movies to be good, even though it's kind of funny because, I don't think the trailers have been very impressive and it's kind of looked poor so far.
I think all the trailers have been like pretty much very similar.
Yeah. But the marketing, I think the marketing's been terrible, honestly. Like, I struggle to get excited for it because they're not giving me anything to get excited for.
Yeah.
But these reactions, they are something, but no, I do not change my excitement at all. I learned my lesson very, very harshly with The Flash. And if I had all the time in the world, I'd go back and find everyone that made like greatest comic book movie ever, top 5, been in Dark Knight. I'd go find all those people and ask them what they were on.
I'd smack them. Like you're an idiot. Like, why would you say that?
Some of the stuff I heard, man.
But yeah, I think I'm on the same boat as you. It's given me sort of Shazam 1 vibes, you know, like, well, Shazam is a more well-known character than Blue Beetle. So has that sort of like, you know, that unknown sort of presence, you know, has somewhat similar humor, family orientated as well.
Yeah.
So I feel this is what I hope that Blue Beetle captures that magic of that for Shazam and brings it to this in its own like little spin.
Yeah.
And I hope we do get that. I wouldn't really want to see like a world define, you know, consequences sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think I'm hoping that Blue Beetle is more personal, like it's more directed towards the actual character and the consequences will suffer him and his family.
Yeah.
Which is probably why it's we're getting a lot of stuff saying that it's family driven and believing in yourself, because obviously he's going to have some doubts throughout this film. And we'll see him overcome that. So I think if it's more like narrow in its sort of storytelling, just focused on the character and his family and him adapting to these weird powers, then I think DC might have a hit on their hands here. When I mean hit, I mean like something like Shazam, you know, like
well received at least.
Yeah, an unexpected hit.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, man. We see far too many, especially superhero movies, where the whole world's in danger or like the universe is gonna implode if they don't do something. We need more personal villain-hero interaction. So that's a really good point. I think the real question though is it gonna make a blue $1 billion?
Well, moving on to our next topic now.
Well, let's make the next meme real. We did it with Barbie, Barbillion.
Sometimes I question why I come here on Mondays.
You know, there's a lot of reasons and whatnot.
Yeah, you know. Anyway, our next one is, as in our next topic, me and James and I will be predicting the Rotten Tomatoes scores for some of the major movies coming out for the rest of the year. So pretty much I got a list here. I'm going to say to James the movies one at a time. He's going to give his take on whether it'll be fresh or rotten and give out a score, and if he wants, he can dabble into why. So first off is Blue Beetle.
Sorry, question. Are you going to be doing your predictions?
Oh, yes, I will. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just so I know whether to ask you as well.
We'll go one at a time.
Okay. So, Blue Beetle for Rotten Tomatoes predictions. I think that'll be fresh. I think it'll be around 73%. The reactions are good, but we've seen DC reactions before. And yeah, I think it's around the same mark, that a little bit higher than Flash. 73% I think is a safe bet for that one.
I agree with you. I think it'll be fresh as well. I'm going to go a touch higher. I'm going to say it's going to be around about that 79 to 83% region. If I had to put a number on it, I'm going to say 79.
Yep.
79.
Nice.
But I think, I said it before, you know, I think this could be like their version of Shazam, first one. So hopefully that sticks. The next one is Ridley Scott's The Creator.
Ridley Scott?
Is it Ridley Scott? No.
No. Gareth
Edwards,
yes. Yeah. Ridley Scott. Where'd you get that one from?
I always I think it's because I was looking at another movie on here. From Ridley Scott. We'll get to that in a second. But Gareth Edwards, The Creator.
Rotten.
Ooh.
38%.
38%.
Yeah. That now it's hard to know because it's so like it's such an original property that it's pretty hard to know. And I think when you have like big budget stuff like this, they can do really well, but they can also do really bad.
Yeah.
And maybe the vision is a little bit too much for critics in this one, and it looks nice, it feels nice, but the story might not add up. I don't know much about what it's based on, because I believe it's a novel, and I don't know how well received that is or how well known it is. But yeah, I'm taking a stab in the dark, and I'll say, did I say 37?
30 something.
I'll say 39. My official one, 39%. No, it's a ballsy one.
It is. That's interesting. I'm opposite of you. I think it's going to be fresh.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like, I love saying this as well, you know, the palate cleanser to Hollywood at the moment. I think everyone's going to want to go see like original content. I think
we've been doing that for the last month.
Yeah, but palate cleanser on palate cleanser, right?
Oh shit! Inception.
Yeah, I think our critics will enjoy this movie more than they are thinking right now. I'm thinking probably around about that mid 70 range. I'll probably go 74% is where I see this film.
Yep.
Next one is Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
Rotten or fresh, James?
This one's hard. I read something the other day that the cut is like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that sticks, then there could be something special in the works if a cut's that long. I think that's the first cut though. Ooh, I'm gonna say rotten, and I'm gonna lean pretty harshly at around 31%. I sound like a pessimist. I promise I'm not. I think it's gonna be 31%. I think the low reviews will actually help its appeal, and people want to go and see how bad it is. I feel like it's gonna be that kind of movie. Yeah, because its source material is just weird.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Me neither.
I don't think critics will get it either.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be in that rotten front. I'll probably say around about 41% for me.
Yeah.
I think it's just too niche of a property, and critics will just be like, what are we watching?
Yeah. They won't know, but all the kids are going to love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it a horror?
Yeah, it is like a horror, but Five Nights at Freddy is
it's
like a kid's horror thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. It's how weird it is.
Yeah, I'm safe with my 40% sort of thing. Now, the next one, Dune Part 2. Fresh or rotten?
I'm going to say fresh at 86%. I mean, yeah, I think that's probably a good one. Dune 1, 83%. So, yeah. What?
Sorry, no, I'm just looking at my show notes.
Did you?
No, it's fine.
All right. What?
I'll tell you later, man.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, you threw me off my game here. Yeah, Dune 2, I think 86%. I think it'll be a step up from the original. Not by much though. I do think it is a world that some critics can struggle to fully invest in. And I don't know if they're kind of ready for Dune Part 2 because it looks like a completely different film. One was very slow, and this one looks like really fast and action packed. And we didn't get that in the first one. And that kind of change in tone and scale might actually negatively affect them. But I think overall, you're going to have at least 86% of critics loving this movie. I think it'll be around the 86% mark, but the average rating will be like, 8.8, something really high.
Yeah.
Maybe not that high, but like at least like an 8, I think. Yeah, it'll be really strong.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it will be fresh as well. And I'm probably going to go around about that 85%. No, 84%.
34%?
84%. I think the critics are not going to enjoy how action-based this film might be. I could be wrong, but I think what they loved about the first one was how it's a slow sort of slow burner type of story.
Yeah.
And I think if this one's just pure action-based, and there's a lot of action in those trailers as well,
yeah,
that might just put them off a bit. But it's still going to be a fantastic movie. It's going to sound beautiful and it's going to look beautiful at the same time.
Do you think that they've put like all the action in the trailer to entice more people to come out and see it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because it could be still could be a slow movie, and we've just seen like all the action parts in it are just kind of stuff that's kind of briefed in the teasers and trailers. So,
and we have no idea on the runtime. It could easily be 3 hours.
It really could easily be that long.
Yeah,
I think it'll probably be around like 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, the next one is The Marvels.
The Marvels.
The Marvels.
I can't remember what Captain Marvel was. I think it was in the 70s.
90s, I'm pretty sure.
Was it?
Pretty sure. Give me 1 second.
Perhaps I was wrong then. I wouldn't be surprised though. I am going to say that The Marvels is fresh. I think it's around a 70. I think it's a 75. I think that's kind of the safe bet. Critics are finally being a little harsher with MCU properties, which is good, and I think it will take a bit of a hit here. And yeah, just Marvel hasn't been on the game properly for a wee bit now, and I think that's going to translate to the Marvels. Obviously, I hope it's good, but I don't really have much hope. I think 75 kind of fits the bill, where it's kind of like it's enjoyable, it's fun, and then you go about your day again, kind of thing.
Yeah. I was completely wrong at 79%. The first one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll be fresh, but I think it's going to be a lot lower.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be around about the 65 range. I think Disney and Marvel have taken a huge hit right now that they can't get a win. You know, Guardians is the outlier because you had James Gunn and that's pretty much his baby. But
even that only got like 80 something. Yeah, it's got 82, I think.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't. The trailers for this doesn't seem that enticing. We're getting 3 different Marvel sort of characters. Something like being bunched up together with no like real reason for or reason to, or we haven't seen them interact with each other. They were all just going to be shoving this movie, and I think it's just going to be not quite a mess, but it's going to be a bit sloppy.
Yeah,
and it's going to slop its way to that 60 mark.
Slop its way there. What a saying.
Yeah. All right, the next one is the prequel for the Hunger Games. Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Fresh or rotten?
This one's a hard one as well. I think if it's good, I think it's going to be rated really highly. If I think it's bad, then I think it's going to be really bad. I don't see an in between for this movie. And you look at the trailer, it looks good in terms of visually. It looks much better than I ever thought it would. And it seems like there's something in this that could be quite special. I don't know if it will work out the way, and we're still got to see on the story. And I know that the story it's based on is not as well received as the Hunger Games series. But I'm going to take a stab in the dark here. I'm going to go fresh at 88%.
Oh,
I think potentially it could be a Dungeons and Dragons kind of surprise.
Right.
Because I think that's around like 90%. I don't think as good as that, but I think it could be I think one of these movies has to surprise. And on the Rotten Tomatoes side of things, and I think that it can be one of them for sure. Yeah. What are you?
I think it's fresh as well.
Yeah.
I was very tempted to say rotten, but then I was like, oh nah. The Hunger Games sort of has that pull towards it, but I think it's going to be the low end. I'm going to go around about that 69% mark.
Right.
I think the prequel is not going to hit the heights or strike the same with as the original Hunger Games films did. And I think the critics will have that on the back of their mind because they're obviously going to compare this film to those past 4.
Yeah.
And that's not going to live up to that. Could be wrong, but yeah, 69% is where I'm thinking.
Fair.
Next one is Napoleon, directed by Ridley Scott.
There it is. Oh, yeah, sorry. I blanked it. I thought you were going to say something else. Napoleon, I'm going to say fresh. I will say 78%.
78.
I don't think Ridley Scott's the type of director that appeals to every type of critic. And that's not a bad thing. And I'm not saying that Ridley Scott's a bad director by any means. Just some directors struggle to connect with certain critics. We've seen it with, Denis Villeneuve, Dune at 83%. We've seen it with Nolan, Interstellar's like 73%. There's always that kind of stuff. And I do think Napoleon is going to be a good one from Ridley Scott because he is a hit or miss director at this point in his directing career. And I think this one will be a hit. I think people are going to love it. I think it's going to be good. But I think some of those critics are going to weigh it down. And I think it's going to be around the, what did I say, 78%?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think around 78%.
I'm going to go 10 points higher than you and go 88%.
Ooh.
That's fresh. I think
Definitely could be for sure.
I think the critics, and I think they're going to be so hooked into Joaquin Phoenix's performance that I think that's just going to be sticking with them for so long.
You're not going to the controversy of Joaquin Phoenix being in the role?
I haven't heard any controversy about it
because he's not French and he's French.
Right.
Yeah. So there could be that, and we know those kind of things do linger on in the minds of some critics.
I did forget about that.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to stick to my guns.
Fair enough. I like it. I respect it.
88% for me. Sign me up. Next one is Wonka. Pressure on.
I'm going to say rotten at 57%.
Oof.
Yeah. I don't know what this movie's going to be. If I was doing this at the start of the year, I would have predicted high end of the 80s, possibly early 90s. But seeing that trailer and then people were divided over it, I think you're going to see the same thing with critics going to be divided over it as well. There are some parts that look cool, visually interesting, and exciting. And there's some parts where it's like, what's so weird? And like just weird creative decisions. There's the controversy in that movie as well, with the Oompa Loompas being CGI Hugh Grant and not dwarves playing the characters. So that may play into things. But yeah, the fact that they do like a creative decision like Hugh Grant being an Oompa Loompa and CGIing the face onto him, it's kind of a warning sign to what's the rest of the movie going to be like. I think it's going to be a divisive movie among critics and audiences, to be honest.
Yeah, I can see your points. I think it's going to sneak into the fresh category.
Sneak?
I don't like sneaks. I see this being 70%. Yeah. I think the trailers have not done the film justice.
Mm-hmm.
I think you also have the Paddington director behind it as well, and he's a fantastic director,
Yeah.
Both Paddingtons are 100. No, they're both down to 90s.
I think they're 99s.
99s.
Yeah.
That is very fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this director is very capable of that. Hopefully it's not like a Damien Chazelle with Babylon where he completely botched it.
Yeah.
Because Damien Chazelle had a very good, filmography, Rotten Tomatoes score-wise. But yeah, I see it being around about that 70% mark.
Yeah.
Right. Next one is Disney. A lot is riding on this one, and that's Wish. What do you think of this one?
Oh, it's fresh. I think it'll be fresh, and I think it will be 92. Yeah, animated movies, it's a lot easier to get higher on them. We've seen what happened with Puss in Boots and TMNT. 97% is, I don't know about that. But there are a lot of animated movies that they aren't hashed or they aren't graded very fairly, and they always get like a kind of like just a bump in Rotten Tomatoes for some reason. I mean, the Minions too. It's fresh at 70%. So there I think there is not a bias, but there is like a little bit of leeway when it comes to animated movies and their Rotten Tomatoes scores. I think they'll be represented in Wish. I think will be genuinely be good. So I think they'll translate to even higher success. And it's going to be up there with TMNT, Spider-Verse by the year's end. Don't think it'll be into the 95 plus, but the 90-95 range I think is a pretty safe bet for me. Yeah.
I'm with you in the 90 range. 90, I was going to say 19. I thought I was going to win that. I thought we were going to lowball it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, mate.
That's why I started laughing as you said 90. I was like, fuck. But yeah, I think this is going to put Disney back on the map. Like they've had so many hours this year. I think this is going to be like Disney at close to their peak, Frozen sort of levels, as we discussed on previous podcasts. I think there's going to be blow people away, and that short little teaser obviously shows, that it can capture that magic. Hopefully they keep that animation style off like that half-assed sort of hand-drawn cartoony sort of look, because I think that is so underrated nowadays because everyone prefers that 3D animation, but hand-drawn cartoons is just so fantastic. We saw that with Spider-Verse and now TMNT.
Yeah.
So 90%.
Fair enough.
And the next one, if it does not get delayed...
It won't be delayed.
It won't be delayed, is Aquaman 2. I forgot the tagline.
The Lost Kingdom.
The Lost Kingdom. That's how forgettable it is right now. But Aquaman 2. What do you think it is with everything going on with this film? Fresh or rotten?
Rotten, 15%.
Oh, wow, that low.
All right, look, I have my reasons. People, for the most part, like the first Aquaman, at least enjoyable, got 65%, and that was a competent movie. And I thought like some of the shots in it were stunning. I thought for the most part it looked like a really nice movie,
And it hit $1 billion.
Yeah. Like so, there was so much going right with that movie, and only 65%. And you hear it's doing reshoots like a few weeks ago, and it releases in 4 months.
And we haven't seen anything. And the only behind the scenes footage or behind the scenes sort of photos we've seen was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, they were released ages ago.
Yeah.
And it's the last one in DCU, isn't it? It ends with Aquaman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Final nail in the coffin.
It ends everything. You got the Amber Heard controversy. They'll rub the wrong way on some critics, I bet. You're going to have rushed CGI. You're going to have a messy production. You're going to have a company that kind of doesn't care about this movie because they're starting fresh anyway. So something that they're just going to push out, take the L, and then move on with their lives. I don't see this movie doing anything impressive, and I don't see the movie being good. And I really just don't think anyone cares. I know that James Wan was, he was hospitalized recently. So he's going through his own stuff, and when you're going through that stuff, you're thinking more about your health than some upcoming movie.
Yeah.
So there's just too much mess with this. I don't see it getting better. I think DCU is going to end on a
sour note.
Very sour note.
Yeah,
a rotten note.
I'm with you, but not that low.
I'm being harsh with that one.
I know you are.
We'll see.
It's definitely going to be a rotten, and I think it's going to be around by that 33%. I think you've covered it, like the controversy with Amber Heard, the messiness of like the multiple reshoots, the poor test screenings for the however many they've had so far, 2 or 3. I think it's just going to be an absolute mess of a product when we've seen its final form. They're going to have Warner Brothers chiming in with their 2 cents. James Wan just want to be like, let me just capture the magic of the first, But Warner Brothers is going to be like, no, you have to do this and this and this, and you need to have this, this and this. Obviously, they're trying to trim it down to have as less Amber Heard in it as well. That's a negative because you're pretty much stripping out like a main part of this original story too.
Yeah.
So it's not looking good.
Well, I mean, like, remember the whole Ezra Miller thing? Like, you saw in a bunch of critic reviews, they were mentioning Ezra Miller's like past affairs and stuff like that, and you can tell it kind of went into the negative, perspective of the movie. So I think you're going to see that with Amber Heard here as well.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, Amber Heard's only supporting, not a main, whereas Ezra was a main.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with that role, though. It will be interesting.
All
but I have heard that it's not going to be delayed. Like, I think Warner Brothers came out and said they're going to release it anyway.
I wonder if they should show a trailer soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Just what a disaster it's going to be.
Yeah.
And what if it turns out good? That's going to be even more hilarious.
That is the definition of a Cinderella story. If it hits like 90, I'm going to say 85 plus, $1 billion, this is the greatest success story.
We're not rebooting anymore.
James Gunn, Peter Safran, you're fired.
Zack Snyder, come on back, buddy.
And no, that's not an invitation for your Snyder people to come in. But
names banned you.
Yeah.
But no, we can dream. At the end of the day, I think I speak for me and you that we want every movie to be good. But sometimes you got to look at how things have led up to the release and just know that
it's not going to be
not going to be good.
Yeah.
But we can hope.
Speaking of good, was Talk to Me. That was a very good horror film. You and I are not a fan of the genre, and we genuinely enjoyed it. Our experience throughout that movie was shit because of teenagers. But we really found that to be quite an enjoyable movie. And now there's talks of a sequel on its way. That's it. There's just a sequel on its way. No other details. We don't know who there's going to be the cast, when, or what it's about, or the director. It's just a sequel. Peter Jackson has said, I'm not sure if you saw it, you probably have. He watched Talk to Me and he thought it was a fantastic horror film as well. So what are your thoughts on the sequel coming out? Are you excited for it? And what would your thoughts be on Peter Jackson possibly directing?
Peter Jackson directing. The news is that the directors of the first one are doing this.
Oh, they are?
They are, yeah.
Okay, I'm still going to ask the same question.
I will answer that question because it is a very interesting one. To clarify my perspective on the horror genre, though. No, I don't hate horror. I hate bad horror, and that is most horror. So if there's a good horror movie, like Talk to Me, then I like horror, but most of them are just bad. So in general, I kind of do dislike them. That is my stance on it. But yeah, I really did like Talk to Me. I thought it was there was some genuine scares in there, and just a really fun concept, and the payoff at the end was really well executed, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But with the sequel, I can look at it in two different ways. Again, IP driven stuff, because now it's an IP. But the same directors are on board. It is A24, so I have good faith that they are going to do a good job with this. From what I know, they have thought of the sequel prior to the first one releasing. Like I read the interview, and they were saying like, we always had ideas on what a sequel would look like if we had the opportunity to do one, and now they do, because it is getting a lot of success. They might have a bigger budget to play with as well. They've actually recorded a prequel of Talk to Me, and it's based on the character in the very opening scene.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was a super low budget project they did, and they said they might be able to release that one day.
I hope they do.
Yeah, it would be interesting. But yeah, no, I'm excited for it, and as long as the directors the ones that did the first one, then yeah, I'm fully on board. Like to see what they can do with it, but you kind of look at stuff like this, especially sequels, and you're like, is it a good idea? Should it be left alone?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, sure, but then there are some surprises, and I think if these directors are, passionate with their horror film base or film franchise, then I think they can execute multiple times. So we'll have to see. It was their directorial debut. As for Peter Jackson directing it, it was interesting that he did really enjoy it, because he was saying the same thing about he doesn't really like horrors, and because they're not really well done, and this one was good. So Peter Jackson directing a horror movie, I'd be on board with it. I don't really understand Peter Jackson as a director anymore. He swings and flows in weird
direction. What was the last thing he directed?
I know he did a color restoration of a war documentary about 5-6 years ago.
The Hobbit?
Yeah, he did the Hobbit movies. He obviously did King Kong, Lord of the Rings. But yeah, just kind of, he has really good stuff and really bad stuff.
Yeah.
I would love to gauge his where he's at as a director now in the horror genre. I think that'd be particularly interesting. So if they're doing a third one or a spin-off or any kind of horror movie in the Talk to Me kind of franchise, then I'm fully on board with Peter Jackson. I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah. Because he's more of a fantasy sort of director, He's done Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, The Lovely Bones as well. And then I think he was a producer or something on World Engines as well. Yeah,
very close to the
So
project.
he's really sticking to, same as Denis Villeneuve, how he's purely sci-fi, he's purely pretty much fantasy. So if he's game to like direct a horror film, will be awesome, because you can see something different of him, and possibly he could be one of those directors that have a hit in both or multiple genres.
Yeah.
So it'll be awesome to see him in that. In terms of Talk to Me sequel, I'll be excited for it. I wouldn't really want it to be based in Australia. I'd like to see like the hand go to another continent. Maybe not America, but like, I don't know.
New Zealand?
I said another continent.
You don't want to include it? Why not New Zealand?
We're part of Australasia.
Yeah, I know that. But like, why not New Zealand?
Because it's pretty much the same as Australia.
Debatable, considering how much you dislike Australia.
Yeah, but that's because of rivalry.
Rivalry.
I just have to. But like something like, I don't know, like Asia, that'll be so interesting. Or even Africa. We've barely seen the African movies. Like a horror film in Africa, that'll be insane.
Because where did it end? Where did it end? Was it? It was somewhere. It was a Spanish country, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yes, it does. Yeah, South America.
Yeah. South America. If it could open up straight away after that, that would be kind of sick.
So similar to how the first one opened up and then it went to a different continent, or do you want to keep it based in the South America?
No, you know how the main girl in the movie, she talks to the South Americans.
Oh yeah.
It kind of just starts with those characters, or in South America, I guess. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But just carrying that hand throughout wherever it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That'd
think.
be cool.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. Like seeing like this hand like create havoc amongst like multiple continents. So I'd really like to see Talk to Me go to like a different continent and explore that culture in terms of how they perceive this sort of fantastical horror thing. Yeah. Speaking of sequels, we have another one, probably unwanted, and it's called Uncharted. So Sony has come out and saying that they're definitely looking to make another Uncharted movie, according to the producer, Charles Roven. He said that he had a lot of fun making the first film, and that both fans of the game and the people who haven't played the game enjoyed the film. Don't see it, but okay. And then, yeah, so he's speaking on behalf of fans of both the general audience and the gaming audience. Have you seen Uncharted?
I have.
You have, okay.
Yep.
We both have. Have you played the games?
Like not like from beginning to end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So based on the stuff you've played, if you can remember it and what you saw from the movie, would you be game for this? For an Uncharted sequel?
I think so. Yeah, I see you going on Twitter saying, "Oh, no one wants this kind of thing," and I disagree. I want it. I had no problems with the first one. I thought it was a fun, decent adventure movie. I don't think it's nearly as bad as kind of what you're claiming here. The audience score is around 90%, so there is a clear segment of people that did enjoy it, and obviously fans of the game are always going to turn up. The first movie ended with kind of revealing that his brother Sam Drake is still alive. So that's how it would play into things, and I think you could continue. I think there is a story to be continued here. So it's not just a forceful telling of another adventure in the Uncharted kind of universe. I think it can genuinely flow and have a natural story and follow on from some of the narrative threads that have opened up in the first Uncharted movie. But yeah, I don't think it's a great movie. I just thought it was a fun adventure movie, but far off from like a Spielberg-esque kind of adventure movie.
Yeah,
that was similar to like the early Indiana Jones stuff. A long way to go, but I do believe they could easily refine the screenplay and develop the characters a little bit better. And I think they could make a good movie in the future. The games have been good in the past, so there's no reason why they can't translate that over. Especially as we're starting to see, video games, video game adaptions actually be quite good now. Yeah, so there is potential here, I believe.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think because I played the game, I didn't quite enjoy it. I think they brought elements of all 3-4 different games into it. I mean, one of the sequences was from Uncharted 3.
Yeah.
The plane sequence. Me personally, I think if you're gonna adapt a video game, you literally have the screenplay there in the game, 10 to 15 hours worth.
Yeah.
Just make it work and adapt that. I mean, we saw it with Last of Us, and everyone loved that. And I hope they do that with God of War. If they fuck that up, I'm going to be so mad. But I trust Amazon because they've given us The Boys and Invincible, so
yeah,
I trust them to do that justice. But yeah, I think it's just the fact that they're pretty much making an adventure film, but having the Uncharted name on it and the characters, rather than actually properly adapting the game. And I think that's probably what video game adaptation should be: is adapting the game and the story, rather than trying to make your own new one.
Yeah.
In terms of the sequel, I'll probably end up going to see it because who knows? They probably could have learnt from their mistakes and the criticisms of the first one, and strip back and go back to their roots.
Yeah.
I think another reason why I didn't like it was because of the casting. Mark Wahlberg as Sully and Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. They didn't quite. If you play the games, they don't look or they feel. That character.
They are quite different to the counterparts.
Yeah. So I think that. Like, just watching that just instantly takes you away. Especially if you've played all the games, you're just like, oh, what is this? This is just so weird.
Yeah. I felt like they tried to choose some of the best moments from the games in terms of the action sequences.
Yeah.
And we'll immediately put it in the film without considering the potential for future ones.
Exactly.
But they have left narrative threads open, and if they can capitalize on that, then it could be a little bit better.
It could
But
be.
I reckon just they can create new action sequences that aren't in the game. You can easily do that.
Yeah.
But I just keep the characters and the kind of the story the same.
Yeah. All right. Next one is we recently, I think last week, wrapped out our New Zealand International Film Festival. James and I both saw around about 10 movies each. So, James, what were your top 3 favorite films? Not the films that you think are the best, but your just personal favorite films of this film festival for us.
My favorites, eh?
Favorites. Can start from 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
I still haven't made up my mind, honestly.
Then just spitball your 3 favorites.
Spitball. Oh, yes. Okay. I got it.
Mhm.
My list.
Oh, you're going to rank them?
I'm going to rank them.
Awesome.
I think it makes it more fun.
Yeah.
A little bit more juicy. At number 3, it breaks my heart to put this one so low. Good Boy. It's funny because I saw this being advertised on IGN, the first trailer released, and they were posting about it and people were talking about it. I'm like, wow, now that I've seen this movie, people are going to start talking about it. I thought it'd be hidden forever.
I think people will talk about it after they see the movie too.
Yeah, this movie, it's such a fun time. It's all kinds of fucked up. It's very weird, but it's actually quite good. And it's I'm not gonna say it's like a horror or a thriller. It's kind of just a weird blend of mixture, and you kind of just
Comedy, horror, thriller.
you have all these kind of different emotions and feelings while watching it. Like sometimes it's funny, but it's cringe, and then it's weird, and then it's kind of sad, and you just kind of go through all this kind of like all these emotions, and then by the end of it, you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And as far as movie experiences go, I think Good Boy was, definitely up there. Probably one of the biggest movie experiences of that film festival. So that's why I put it so high. Second, Past Lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was actually really hard to rank these because a top 5 would have been a lot easier. But at second place, I got Past Lives. I thought this movie was brilliant. It's not a movie that hit me straight away. It's a movie that kind of it took its time to really for me to get a bit of appreciation from it. Once I started thinking about it and thinking about how the movie transpired and kind of the deeper meanings to it, and especially what Celine Song was saying to us at the Q&A, it's just one that's really grown on me, and I really love almost every element of the movie, and I think it's such a real human story, which is what I really like as well. And at number 1, my number 1 is May December. I think this is by far and away the best one of the film festival for me. In terms of just quality, it was the most interesting. It's the one that I feel like I could talk about and discuss with somebody for the most for the longest amount of time. I think the characters are interesting. It's written. It's very compelling in the way it's written. The acting. It's a powerhouse from 3 different actors there. Charles Melton, Julianne Moore, and Natalie Portman are all just phenomenal in it. I think the directing is really good as well. I think the editing is strong and how it lays out and balances the story, and just it's kind of like its own version of fucked up, but it's like it's really good, and I think it has a better payoff than like something what like Good Boy did, and may not be the emotionality that Past Lives has, but it has that kind of very interesting element where you kind of peel back the layers on these characters in the story and discuss it a little bit deeper than something like Past Lives.
Yeah.
So that is my ranking.
It's good list.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. What are yours?
Mine, well, for me, number 3 is Past Lives.
Nice.
I couldn't relate to it as much as other people because, I didn't have that sort of connection of or I couldn't understand that connection of how the film played out because I've never been in that situation, but I could definitely.
Us.
But I could.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I just had to include that one in there.
But I could definitely feel the emotion in it, especially in that last scene, because like it was being teased about this certain character not doing this certain something, and at the end they actually do it, and it just really impacts you so much because you're like, oh, you're feeling all this emotion from her, that you start to feel it as well.
Yeah.
And I think the acting in it was fantastic. Both the main character and the husband, and even the childhood sweetheart as well. They all did fantastic as well. And Celine Song's direction, cinematography, and screenplay was fantastic as well, and the score was great. So I think that's why I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Number 2 for me was How to Have Sex.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed that film because I wasn't expecting the message to be what it showed. If you know what I mean? Like, I didn't expect the movie to go into that sort of route. Yeah. And it actually had like a good and message to say. Not that it's a good message. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I thought the way that it was played out, was very, very great. I mean, I've never walked out of a movie with a hangover before, but this is definitely one.
Yeah, that was tough. Yeah.
Yeah. I think also because the music selection is right up my alley. With EDM, and I think most of the songs in there was pretty much what I listened to, so I think I could connect it with it more. I think the main actress in it was absolutely fantastic. Haven't seen her in anything else, and I definitely hope she's in a lot more stuff because I think she has a lot of potential as a future actress as well. Yeah. 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 And my number one favorite was River.
Wow.
It was River.
Whoa.
Yeah. I really like the concept of it. So it's basically like Groundhog Day, except instead of a day, it's every 2 minutes. Yeah. And I think like the whole cast was just fantastic to watch. It was very enjoyable to watch. The comedy was really funny at some times. There's a particular scene where a guy experiments because he knows he's gonna he knows that time's gonna come back for him. And it's just hilarious to watch everyone's reactions and then him explain his reasoning for it and everyone's reactions from that. It's really good. And I really like the whole how it resets every 2 minutes. Every 2 minutes you get something different. Yeah. It just like each 2 minutes is with different characters and then same characters but different characters within those two characters. Yeah. So I thought I've really enjoyed it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is brilliant in its own way. Yeah. For that movie though, I think the ending was just a little bit too goofy. It kind of just threw me out of it a bit. Yeah.
So that's probably what I was thinking too. I think the ending it leaned, well, it is a sci-fi sort of film, but it was a bit too far in sci-fi. Yeah. But everything before that was fantastic. And it's nice to see like a time loop movie where it's not just based on a day and resets and it's only focused on one particular character. Like this whole entire region was affected and we saw everyone's reactions to this and everyone losing their minds.
Makes it so much more interesting, eh?
Yeah. Definitely.
If you had to put a top 5 in there, because I think How to Have Sex and River would round out my top 5, possibly continuing with Anatomy of a Fall. Not Monster. What do you think would make those final 2 spots?
Final 2 spots? Do I either rank them or just
chucking ideas?
I think Good Boy will be in there. And I think Monster will sneak in there as well.
Monster, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Definitely not Reality.
Movies are one of the highest rated movies of the year, man.
Yeah, I know.
You gotta love it.
I know it is, but I just couldn't get into it.
Wins
I tried
Best
so hard.
Picture.
If it does, I'll be like, wow, this is like the best picture that I just had zero interest in. All right, we're good. We've shared our top 3 off the New Zealand Film Festival.
It was a good program though that they ran because
it was.
Now looking at it, there's at least 8 there that I like.
Yeah, and it was good. And it was a big film festival for us as well, considering it's like the first one since 2019 was our last one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, so you could clearly see that the organizers had so much fun doing it and were very passionate with their film selections as well. And yeah, it translated to their
What was your worst one? Well, I wanna get your take on this.
Oh, the film
from the film festival. Sorry, yeah,
that I didn't like.
yeah.
Hi, what do we see?
So there is Reality. We've got Loop Track, Fallen Leaves that hasn't been mentioned either. Anatomy of a Fall.
I liked Anatomy of a Fall and Loop Track.
So it's Reality. May, December for you potentially. And Fallen Leaves.
I can respect May, December, and there were elements of it I did like. I think as bored as I was in Reality, I think Fallen Leaves takes the one I didn't enjoy the most, just because nothing really sticked. You know, these characters didn't have a connection. You couldn't see it. The jokes were bad. The acting was so bland at sometimes as well when they're trying to make a joke. It felt so forceful, and I don't know why it's getting so much like praise.
100%, man. Yeah.
Is that yours as well?
Fallen Leaves would be the worst one. You know, I didn't like that movie. I came out of it very strongly afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually really like everything else that we saw, honestly. Yeah. They're all very good in their own ways.
Yeah.
Even if Reality is slow. Yeah. Luckily, it's short.
Thank God it was short.
Yeah.
I think it's also because the Warriors were playing that day, and my mind was set on that because I was actually going to go to that game.
Imagine how much you would like Good Boy if that wasn't Warriors time either.
No, because I actually watched it, so it was fine.
Oh, afterwards?
Huh?
Afterwards?
What do you mean afterwards?
Because we watched it during the game.
Oh, yeah, but I still got to see some of the game, so I knew how the game was going to play out.
Yeah. Just so bitter of not seeing the Warriors. He hates a movie.
But fuck Reality. You deprived me of my one true hobby. All right, guys, that's enough memeing and enough Warriors talk for one podcast, because you guys will get a whole lot more in a few weeks.
No.
So that will do us on the Let's Be Real podcast. Hope you all enjoyed the show wherever you've been listening from. If you have any questions about this episode, be sure to hit us up on social media. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, and YouTube. Hit us up with a DM on Twitter if you enjoyed our film festival rankings. If you've seen any of them, let us know your thoughts. If you think we've probably missed any, let us know your thoughts. If you think Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom is going to punch way above its weight, then head on over at MovieGainz. And if you want to read any other of our content, head over to MovieGainz.com. We got all the latest box office news, film and physical media reviews and content, as well as lists and Oscars and whatnot. And be sure to sign up for our newsletter so you can keep up to date with all of our content. And hey, if you enjoyed listening to us on Let's Be Real, head over to Spotify, wherever you pod from, type in Let's Be Real and give us a good old listen. There's a lot of episodes to get through, so have fun on that roller coaster. Thanks everyone for tuning in today. We'll catch you on the next episode with MovieGainz. See you later.
Peace.